Hello and welcome to another episode of Direct to Dumpster. My name is James.
My name is Blaise.
If you're new to Direct to Dumpster, we revisit a movie that you may have forgotten about and tell you why you should watch it, or just completely just leave it in the trash where it belongs. This week we are checking out Wheels of Fire. Cue a clip. So, just the title alone, I feel like you can kind of assume this is a Mad Max ripoff. Pretty much, yeah.
I'm assuming there were a ton of movies that came out that ripped off Mad Max.
Yeah.
But like being in this era that we're currently in, you don't really see them or know. Like they fell to the bottom of the dumpster. They're kind of forgotten. A lot of the film was degraded.
Right.
They don't really exist anymore.
You kind of have to seek them out, essentially. But this one just kind of fell into our laps. We had a VHS copy, but it's also available for you to check out on Amazon Prime. So that's lucky for you guys.
Yeah.
I thought it was like actually really exciting watch. Like surprisingly for a movie that I've never heard anyone bring up this movie in a conversation, especially after the success of Mad Max Fury Road. I would think that someone said like, oh, if you really like B movies or Mad Max, you should check out this wannabe one. Mm-hmm. Never heard of any of that stuff. And it was fun.
And I'll cut you off right there and just say, I would definitely, preface what you're saying with, it is a bad movie.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah,
it's a bad movie, but it's an enjoyable bad movie. Mm-hmm. It's action from beginning to end. Some of the action scenes were even cracking us up, like because the editing is like so frantic.
Right.
And like you could tell if some are shots or pickup shots or what, but it's just like so crazy that it was really entertaining. We were like laughing at some of the scenes, specifically this one.
With this scene in particular, it kind of reminds me of the fence hopping scene in what's it called, the Taken 2 movie, I believe, where everyone talks about how it's a 14 cut shot and stuff.
I don't think I've seen that actually.
Oh, you're about to lose your mind when you see that. It just kind of reminded me that we're just like, whoa, what is happening? Like that was like 5 different shots that were 3 seconds each within that all like made it seem a lot longer than what it actually was.
Yeah. And my favorite is like when in a shot, like, or a sequence where they're editing it, like the character jump, like he was falling, but they'll cut and he'll be a little bit higher up than he was. And like this is the speed, like some are slow motion, some are like sped up.
And
like
you're
it
still
just doesn't
seeing
work.
Reaction shots too of other people while he's falling. He still hasn't hit the floor yet.
Yeah, so it's like time slows down, but then speeds up really fast at the same time. So if that happens even in modern day movies, that's kind of funny that like you would. I mean, like editing, they want to emphasize the action, emphasis the intensity, but sometimes it just doesn't work when you're speeding up and slowing down things with reaction shots, and et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So. I mean, this is like one of the first films that we've done in this series where I was telling you, wait, pause that, back it up, let's watch that again. Because there were multiple scenes where I wanted to find out if the bird was fake, because there's a bird, there's like a dope falcon in this movie, or it's like an eagle, I guess.
Well, they call him an eagle, but he's definitely like a falcon.
Yeah, it's more of a falcon. I've never seen an eagle that looks like that. But yeah, he's like flying, but it's clearly like there's a kite. There's a lot of scenes of him actually flying. There's a lot of close-ups of him, but then when they need him to do a specific thing, they have a kite.
Yeah, it looks like that airplane that you have as a kid that's made of foam and just like it's huge and you think it's gonna be awesome, but it hardly goes anywhere.
It just hits the ground and breaks.
Yep,
like that's a lot of fail videos.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you say bad, also this movie kind of reminds me of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like not James Cameron movie bad, but like kind of like Conan the Barbarian or like kind of Commando style bad, where it's still watchable, but you're laughing at how like cheesy it is, but like there's still some impressive stuff that you can appreciate with it. It's definitely just like an 80s action movie.
Yeah, like JCVD's Cyborg is very similar, where it's a bad movie. It's a bad script. Yeah, but like there are little things that you can appreciate. You can appreciate how much went into the production design. Maybe it's not top notch. It's not like Cyborgs actually has really good production design, where it's not the best, but like then you're surprised. You're like, oh, they actually had like a pretty decent budget here. They got a couple of cars. Maybe they reuse them in a couple scenes and they explode in different scenes and then don't in others. But like they definitely had a budget, or they like just maximize whatever shoestring that they did have, which makes it more enjoyable. Like as a filmmaker, you're watching it like, oh, that's, I don't know. It's like, this isn't a great movie, but it's still enjoyable to watch. And you have to commend them for how much action they put in it from start to finish.
I mean, just look at how many extras they had for this movie. Like, there's definitely like, they were working hard for this movie.
Yeah, and this is before like the days of just CGI, like CGI and crowd shots, like simple CGI where you can't really recognize it that much because you're not focused on it. They actually had to call up, 200 of their friends for this final scene to just literally just walk and march in a line to simulate this kind of war.
Right.
And I mean, it worked. Like, it definitely didn't look like as epic as I think they wanted it to be, but that could have been a lot worse if they didn't have these people actually show up on set that day.
Exactly. So. The main character of this movie is Trace, but the back of this VHS cover says really nothing really about him other than he's hunting his sister. What this movie glorifies is the Playboy model of 1982. She was the cover model of July
1982.
July 1982. Her name is
Linda Weissmeyer, and that is the main selling point. That is the only star in this whole movie.
Yeah.
But I think they definitely like tried to utilize her as much as possible.
You think she is the main character in the opening scene, but then Trace is there to like rescue the day and everything, and then you slowly realize like, oh, he's the Mad Max character. Even like kind of looks like Mel Gibson, like the original 70s Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our selling point of the movie. And she's fine, but she doesn't really get a lot to work with at the end of the movie. She's just kind of just a sex slave, and it's really depressing to watch for the rest of the movie. Like she's like this badass girl who's like fighting all these bad guys, and then like just the rest of the movie she's a sex slave, and it's really depressing to watch. But so that's like one of the things like where it's like, okay, we get it, she's a sex slave. But that was another gripe I guess I had with the movie. It's action packed, and the action's so sick the first 40 minutes of the movie. For the last 40 minutes of the movie, I'm just like, all right, I'm kind of over this. It's just literally nonstop action. And like by the final scene, I was just like, this should be the sickest one. And I was just like, all right, almost done here. Yeah.
I definitely have to say one of the things I did like about the story, at least, it's action packed. There's action the whole entire time. It basically never stops. There's not really much of even a stop for there to be any narrative built. Like there is a narrative that we know that Trace is trying to get his sister Arlie back, and that she's been taken away by a Scourge and his crew, which I think is also called Scourge, or maybe the Scourge,
or Scourgers. They never say that. But
one of the guys is named Skag. Yeah, that's pretty much all I know about the bad guys in this film. But yeah, Trace is trying to get his sister Arlie back. Well, also he meets another character, Stinger, who's also trying to fight Scourge, and they're kind of using the organization army and the ragtag group of friends they've met throughout the film to try and like engage this battle between the organization. Yeah. The organization army, surprisingly not that organized.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely not. Yeah. They looked organized, like going in together as one group, but then they all just spread out. Just like, do whatever you can to survive.
Yeah. Like, do whatever. Yeah. That's hilarious. But it's like basically the story. But I think that was something that we mentioned even watching it that was like the most enjoyable and like surprising thing about the film was how many set pieces they actually did have. Yeah. And something that I liked was how often they would bring in either like a new cast member to join that group, whether it was a Stinger, but then the girl, I forget.
There's like this no like context, but just a telepathic like reader.
Yeah. So she joined. I like the little extra characters, but I also like the set pieces in between of like the cannibals, also those the underground people. It's just like little things that they didn't have to explain, but like as a moviegoer of seeing these types of movies, you're like, oh, I've seen, I know the cannibals in like this post-apocalyptic scenario. Yeah. So seeing those little things, I thought like they didn't have to do any of that. Yeah. I just wasn't expecting anything going in this movie. You look at the cover, you're like, this cover is awesome. There's no way this movie is gonna add up to this cover. Yeah. I still don't think it does. Yeah. But I think it's not that far off.
Yeah, I'd say this movie, like, it just had a bunch of stuff of like where like the scavengers, what they call them, the cannibal people, they remind me a lot of the sand people from Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then the underground people, I mentioned it, like they remind me of the Morlocks from the Time Machine, like whether it's the original or the Guy Pearce one, same shit. But
they were inspired by the Guy Pearce one.
The Guy Pearce one specifically. It was just cool to see, and just like that caught me off guard. And just while we were watching, like, this scene doesn't really do anything for the plot, but it's just like a cool scene to have.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie is. It was just like trying to capitalize on what we've already seen, but try to do it all in one. Was it a hit? I mean, I guess not, because we haven't heard of it, which is a bummer.
I guess not. Yeah. I mean, it's on Amazon Prime. You can go watch it now. Is this something like, if it did pop up at the New Beverly, I'd actually be kind of stoked to go check it out. Like with a crowd, I think this movie could be really fun. Like, I don't think it's like a great movie by any means, but I think like in that midnight movie scenario, this movie would be awesome. Even if you're just at home and it's past midnight and you're on Amazon Prime, Wheels of Fire, go check it out.
Right.
So
yeah, highly recommended. This is one that I would take out of the dumpster, add to your collection. It's a fun movie. This is a good find.
Definitely. Anyways, guys, that's going to sum up Direct to Dumpster this week. Tune in next week to see what we have in store.